Alright, so we're going to start on our final project here. And so what I did is I went to Google and I found several images of stuff that had, possibilities for adding some dynamic stuff to this. Um, and I wanted to find a vacant scene, obviously. This one I thought might be kind of cool. I could have different dynamics things happening to the TVs, like the screen shatter and, stuff kind of pouring down. Or particles kind of flying from one TV to the other TV. That might be kind of neat. Yeah, so those are the scenes that I kind of went through and saw that were kind of neat. This one I thought might be kind of cool to have a towel on top of, or blanket on top of, and the blanket like lifts up like a ghost, and it falls down, and there's like misty vapor person that goes through and shatters one of the windows. That might be kind of a neat thing as well. I eventually decided on this scene here. Okay, so what I did is I went to Photoshop, and the first thing I did was I went to my marquee here, and I set my thing to fixed ratio, and I set this to 96 by 54. Okay, that's our rendering resolution proportions. And then I just held this down and just made sure I sized it so that I'm in the right proportions. Okay, if you're dealing with one of these other images, let's say that one. Alright, so I'm going to open this with Photoshop. And that's no bedtime story. I'm just going to go and open this with Photoshop. There we go. And I did the same thing. You can see how I'm kind of limiting myself as to where that stuff is going to happen. Okay, I can't deal with this stuff up here or this stuff down there. I have to deal with only what's in the box. Okay, so if I can't find a good framing for this, or if I pick something that's portrait and not landscape, it can make it a bit difficult. Okay, in this one it would work as well. Alright, so what I did was just figured out what the size of that, and then I just filled in the rest of this with black. Alright, so marquee. If I need to resize, I'll go to select transform selection, and I can hold down shift and just resize that box. Okay, once I have that, I hit Control Shift I, or go to select invert, make a new layer, and then I just filled it with black. Okay, that way I know what I'm focusing on and I know what area I can work on. Alright, and then the next layers that I have on here is different things I want to do. So layer number 2 is I can have some sort of sludge or something kind of squirting out of the drain. That might be kind of neat. This is a soap dispenser. I could have something kind of falling and collecting on the ground. And then I thought maybe one of these tiles over here could crack and then have little bugs or something walking down the wall. Okay, so there's 4 items here. And then another one I thought might be kind of cool is there's this nice beam of light coming in. I thought maybe it'd be kind of neat to have some dust kind of floating through the air as well. Okay, so just all these little things that will help add some life to this scene and not just make it a little boring scene. Okay, so that's my plan for it. All right, so once I have my plan, I save out my plan as a PSD, make sure I have that backed up, and then I'm going to control click this layer here. That will re-get my selection, and I'm going to invert it, and I'm just going to copy this. Oops, copy my background, and then just make a new document and paste it. Okay, so now here's my one without all that planning stuff. Now on this image I have certain things I need to get rid of. There's a lens flare right here, so I'm going to go to my clone stamp tool. I'm going to use Alt and click the selection here, come over to this area, and just paint out that lens flare. Okay, I want to have a clean image. Any lens flares or effects to this, I want to be doing that myself. There's also one right there. Now I can't just grab it from anywhere. I can't go here and start to clone this because the coloring may be off. Now it may not be off, I'll have to find out. So I zoom out and I don't see a big difference, so that's fine. Okay, down here it's a little bit trickier, so I'm going to grab this and I'm just cloning, just clicking and dragging until that is not apparent. Now it still might be there a little bit, but as long as it's not sticking out as much as it was, then I'm fine. Okay, I also have a low flow and a low opacity on these. There we go. I think that could use a little lightning. There we go. That's sufficient. I mean, it's not going to get rid of it fully in this situation. Okay, so I believe I've removed all the lens flare from this scene. There's another little spot right here I don't really care for. There we go. Okay, so I'm saving this out as a TIFF, a JPEG, something else. Okay, not a JPEG, a TIFF or a Targa. And this will be my background image. Okay, and I've already made a project folder inside Maya. So now when I come into Maya, what I want to do is go to my panels here and make a new perspective camera. And this will be called Shot Cam. And I'm going to import that image. So I go to View, I go to Image Plane, I go to Import Image, and I find that image. Now, my project didn't get set. It should have. Go back to that. Still Dynamics. Now we import the image. There's our background. Okay, and there is that image. All right. Now what I want to do is I want to turn on my resolution gate, that guy, and I want to do a little bit of overscanning. So I'm going to go to View, Camera Settings, and then do this, not overscan, but do vertical, and that will allow this box to fit better. Okay. Then I need this image to fill this area. So I go to my attribute editor for that box, and I scroll down and say Fit to Resolution Gate, and it fits to the resolution gate. Okay. Now I need to basically position my scene so that it lines up. Okay, so I'm just moving, rotating, scaling, or not scaling, but zooming in and out to get my grid to line up with that ground. Okay, it doesn't have to be 100% accurate. We just want it to be close. All right, there's actually a little notch here. I go into Photoshop and switch to this guy. I can draw this a little bit easier so you can see it. But I'm looking at this pen tool. There we go. This line coming in here, and then there, there, and there. Now it's a little bit wiggly line because there's dirt on the ground, but that's what I'm trying to match up, is the perspective of this line and that line. I'm not going to be able to get this line and that line using my grid. That'll just come later. Okay, so I'm using my grid and trying to line that up. Now I can't just go like this and stick that in the corner, because obviously this edge of the grid doesn't line up and this edge of that doesn't line up. So I'm just rotating my view around. Now if you're still not getting the good perspective of this, or a good angle, you may have to come over to your camera by clicking the camera, and you may have to adjust stuff like your focal length. So if I made this 20, you can see that my view plane is now a bit distorted with what it was shot at, or with what this image is. Okay, so sometimes you just have to play with it to get it to line up better. So in this case, I think 20 is actually probably a good value. If you look at the stuff in your scene too, you can get an idea of where the camera was taken, or where the shot was taken from. So I shouldn't be like down here on the grid like that. That doesn't make sense. The person who took this shot was probably, regular height and just shot straight at it. Okay, so something like that looks like it's pretty close to being lined up. Okay, so now I'm going to create a polygon plane. I'm going to put that in position, and then I'm just going to turn my grid off. Okay, and what that allows me to do is get rid of all these divisions, and then go to my mesh tools, insert edge loop. I'm just going to put an edge loop right here, and grab this edge, and just do an extrusion. Oops. This extrusion, and then pull that out. Okay, and then what I can do from here is I have this. I think I need to pull it a little bit more. There we go. So I'm just going to take these pieces here, And I'm going to go to extrude again. And I'm just going to pull this pretty much straight up. There we go. Now you'll see that it's not going straight up. It's actually a bit off. So I know this is straight. Okay. So what I can do is just kind of try to rotate my camera a little bit to get this lined up better. All right. The walls in this building, I'm assuming, are straight. There's no fisheye to it or anything crazy. So I should be able to get these lines and the floor lines to all line up. So I'm going to go back to my camera. Maybe make this 35 again. And then start to move, rotate, and scale to get these lined up. Now don't try to do every single line. I'm trying to do this edge and this edge right now. Okay? And even kind of this edge. Alright, something like that. Because I can always take this edge and just push it back a little bit. Oops. Let me grab that full edge. Something like that. Okay, I need to rotate it a little bit more. Let me bring this. And it might take you some, a few minutes to get this thing lined up, but eventually you'll get it. There we go. Okay, and this is just placeholders. It doesn't have to be, like I said, 100% accurate. We're trying to get it as close as we can, and then we can come in here and just kind of fudge these points to line it up better. There we go. Okay, so now that that's lined up, I'm going to click my camera and hit S to set a key on it. That way, in case I mess it up, I can just rewind and my camera will jump back to where it's supposed to be. Okay. Now the point of this is that we need to have some sort of geometry in place. So now if I look in my regular perspective, here's my room. So as I start to create little breaks here in the wall and have stuff crawling down the wall, I have geometry for that to go on. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my other camera, my shot cam, and if I start to create objects, I'm going to create a cube, and I'm just going to hold down C and middle drag along this wall. Okay, I know that my sink is about here. I'll pull this up, and I'm just going to scale this and try to manipulate it to get it to be that shape. Now it looks like there might be a little bit of rotation on this like that, and a little bit of rotation going down like this. Okay, it's not a perfectly pleasant sink area. Now if I hit F, you see I zoom in, it doesn't really help me. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to a split view here, and I'm going to change this to perspective and change this to shot cam. And by doing that, I can come over here and work and see what the effect is in this view. Okay, I might need to close my channel box and manipulate my stuff this way. Okay, now again, this is just a placeholder for the moment. I'm not trying to actually model this yet. Eventually we'll have some more detailed stuff happening. Alright, so something's going to be happening here. I need to know where that is. I'm going to duplicate my cube. I'm going to pull this up. And I'm looking at where that shampoo conditioner, or that shampoo soap dispenser is. It wouldn't be a shampoo conditioner, that'd be weird. I'm going to re-rotate this back vertically. Oops. I think I want to rotate that down a bit. And like I said, this is just placeholders. That's all it is. And the fact that it's hanging off the edge here, I don't care. Okay, all of our masking is to be done inside of Nuke, so we don't have to worry about that. Okay, so that's that. I'm going to duplicate this, bring it over here. I'm going to reset my rotates. For this one, I'm going to delete the back faces of this, just so I can see that a little bit clearer. I'm just trying to line this one tile up. There you go. And a little bit more. All right, that's sufficient. Okay, and then I can just take that and extrude it back. Wrong extrude. And make sure we go to this extrude for face. Pull back. Alright, so now I have this, this, and this, and I have my wall here, so I should be good to start doing some of this work. Okay, so I'm going to have bugs crawling down here, so what I want to do is just create the bugs, model some bugs, texture some bugs, and then do some instancing to have it walking down the wall. Okay, and we could do that just by playing with some of our other settings that we'll get to. Okay, so for now this is good. I'm going to click my camera, set a key just to make sure. Grab all these objects. I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm going to reference it just so I can't destroy that right now. And as I need to, I can unreference it, grab what I need, duplicate it, drop it onto a new layer, and do what I need to do. Okay, so in this case I'm going to add some cream. So I'm just going to literally just create an emitter and start creating a cream. Now if I'm going to be going into real flow, because I want this to be like drops of cream that just kind of start pooling, then I would export my geometry out and bring that into real flow. Okay, but that'll be another video. All right, this is just to kind of get you set up, and then once you're set up, then we can start to go to that next stage of stuff.